of the United States hates homeowners associations. In a recent survey, only 42% of them said that they actually loved them. And when we're talking about homeowners associations and people that live in the most affordable condos, manufactured homes, and even small home communities, these HOAs have gotten kind of out of control recently, especially in condo associations. So let's take a closer look to why we even have homeowners associations. Do we currently still need homeowners associations, and why they've gotten so out of control recently? I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to HOAs. They always seem to be very petty, in my opinion, but I understand why we have them, because you really want to keep and maintain a neighborhood looking nice. And there is a claim out there, and it depends on who you look at as far as the study is concerned, that HOAs do keep property values up in an area once you have an HOA. The thing is, the people who sponsor those studies are the people that run HOAs. So let me just talk about the first reason why I think HOAs have gotten out of control over the last 10 to 20 years. So when HOAs were started all the way back before the World War II, they were basically designed by the homeowners that lived in that area, and they managed all the neighbors together. They usually came up with some rules, and everybody in the neighborhood agreed to abide by those rules. As HOAs have grown over the year and neighborhoods have gotten much, much larger, it's much more difficult for a small HOA to control everything. So in comes management companies, and they're for-profit management companies. And I know that seems crazy. These companies come in and they start running everything. So they budget out for all the lawn maintenance and light bulbs and streets and sidewalks, everything that's paid through the HOA. And of course they get a flat rate. This is where they make the most money, is not from the flat rate. This is where things get kind of confused. It isn't just that they make the money from the flat rate. They really make the most money off of the fines. So they have a whole independent staff that goes through all the HOA payees and try to find all sorts of ways they can fine them, whether it's a flower pot that was written in the covenants in 1967 that said you couldn't have orange flower pots out there. Then all of a sudden you're getting a fine in the mail. Or you can't have your garage door open, or it has to stay open, like this condo association.
This sheet of paper is the cost for the concern. A list left earlier this week by Homeowners Association of Auburn Greens that mandates leaving garage doors up from 8 to 4 Monday through Friday.
This is where I get really ticked off when it comes to HOAs. It seems to me that they're always taking advantage of the people in the most vulnerable situations, especially when it comes to affordable housing. When you look at people that live in condos, they chose to live in a condo in a lot of cases because it was the most affordable option for them to own a home. Then when you tack on the homeowners association's fees, they're usually using the covenants that it says that they can't increase the value X amount of dollars. But homeowners associations are trying to push that up as well. They don't even care. They're throwing them out the window. What has been said in the covenants, they're raising these people's association fees, sometimes double, so they can cover the cost of all the things where they have mismanaged things.
Owners at a local condo complex are angry tonight about plans to hike the homeowners association fees, get this, by nearly 100%.
Not only that, they can fine people for all sorts of stuff. They will find anything in those covenants to find ways to make more money for them and their management company themselves. So they've made hand over fist. And not only that, some HOAs even have had people steal lots and lots of money, and they've gotten caught too.
This morning, the treasurer of a homeowners association in South Fulton is in jail. Lyndon Baldwin surrendered to authorities yesterday. He's accused of stealing insurance money from condo owners.
Rising cost of living here in Florida, affording property insurance is at the top of the list for so many families, and now some high-rise condominium owners are feeling the pressure of new state regulations and insurance mandates.
Reporter Stassi almost explains the concerns of one St. Pete condo homeowner as HOA fees keep going up. Many now have to get flood insurance on their unit 10 stories above the ground.
We're in a 15-story building, and we are on the 10th floor.
72 Sunshine Skyway Lane in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's more than a piece of paradise to Mike Stewart.
My family bought the condo, my grandparents, back in 1972. The building was originally built in 67. It was government housing. And in 72, it went to condos. So my family has owned it since then, and my wife and I were lucky enough in 2012 to be able to purchase this. And we want to use it for our retirement.
Stewart is 5 years out from that dream retirement from 2 jobs in Indiana, but he says watching the increasing cost of living in paradise is worrisome. Most recently, hearing from his property insurance company, Citizens, that he'll have to get flood insurance for the contents inside his condo on the 10th floor.
To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense, paying for a product that I'll never need.
It's a new requirement passed in last year's second legislative special session on property insurance. Citizens told me in April the goal of separate flood insurance is to help minimize any possible litigation of wind-verse flood damage in future storms. But STOR is also on the association board of the condo building and says their costs are skyrocketing.
Insurance has killed us.
From 2021 to 2022, the building's flood coverage went from $97,000 to $110,000, a 14% increase. And their property insurance went from $106,000 to $187,000, a 77% increase.
We've already raised the HOA fees because we did our due diligence for the new law because of the condo collapse.
After the Surfside condo collapse in 2021, Florida lawmakers passed Senate Bill 4D, requiring milestone inspections and condominiums to have enough reserves in place to make any necessary repairs.
It's like, oh my God, how are we going to pay for this? So we're going to have to do an assessment.
At the very end of legislative session this month, Florida lawmakers passed a revision to that original Citizens flood insurance mandate. They're now excluding condominium units. The bill is awaiting the governor's signature.
We're expecting these changes to go into effect.
I went to Citizens Insurance to ask what will happen if the mandate does change, and new customers have already been mandated to get flood coverage since April 1st.
Right now, the law is that for new policyholders, you are required to have flood insurance to obtain a Citizens policy. That law remains in effect until it's changed.
I then reached out to FEMA, who runs the National Flood Insurance Program, to ask if condo owners can cancel if the mandate is removed. A spokesperson told me that policyholders can get a refund if they request to cancel within the 30-day waiting period before it goes into effect. The NFIP only allows midterm cancellations if a lender no longer requires flood insurance. In St. Pete, I'm in
assessment for one condominium in Miami this week. They're being asked to pay $175,000 each towards their 40-year recertification.
And this is a story we've been hearing more and more in South Florida. Residents tell us something isn't adding up, and tonight they're putting the blame on their HOA. CBS 4's Gabrielle Arzola is live in Northeast Miami-Dade with more on what they had to say. Gabby?
That's right. So for background, a 40-year recertification is done to make sure that the building is still safe and up to code. So it's not unusual that some repairs need to be done, but like you said, those owners say that they were dumbfounded when those repairs were at the tune of nearly $50 million.
Shock, disbelief,
shock, anger, and now searching for answers. Christian Murray has lived in the Palm Bay Yacht Club condos since 2016. Now he and many other residents are worried if they'd be able to keep their homes. The building needed to be recertified, meaning an engineer needed to come in and see if the building needed structural and electrical repairs. Now it's not uncommon that these things need to be fixed, but get this, when the property managers brought in their engineer, they claimed the building needed $46 million in repairs. So let's break this down. $46 million means that every condo owner needed to cough up approximately $175,000. Now keep in mind, the entire building itself is worth $50 million. So something here didn't sound right to them. So residents hired a different engineer to do the same assessment, and they were told the building needed $23 million in repairs. A far cry from the initial $46 million.
To ask for $46 million for repairs is really extraordinary.
Attorney Jane Muir was hired by the residents to fight against the property managers. Upon further investigation, Jane says the engineer largely inflated the cost for repairs, and residents believe the property manager, called ACAM, is not only inflating numbers, but also wants to hire their sister company called Project Management Group to do the repairs, which would be a conflict of interest.
I want the truth. It's going to ruin people's lives. People are going to lose their homes.
And now residents are literally fighting to keep their condos, hoping their home sweet home doesn't go sour.
Golly, what a nightmare. So according to Jane, the attorney, if you live in a condo, here are some things you need to know. 1, be involved. Go to those condo associations arbitration meetings. And 2, request documents on where your money is going. See who they're paying as well. And 3, if those numbers don't add up, contact an accountant. And if they still don't make sense, call an attorney. These folks' court date is set to start next week on Monday. Guys.
A lot of condo owners out there could be affected.
There's been a backlash to HOAs because of some homeowners' negative experiences.
When I first bought this house, I was very excited. It seemed like it was a very nice, cozy, close-knit community. Then it started turning into a horror story.
I'm a huge believer that, you do sign away your civil rights when you're signing into an HOA or a condo association.
It's a matter of personal preference. Some people like anchovies on their pizza and some don't. Some people really like living in homeowners associations. Others don't like it.
So why are HOAs so powerful? And do they make homes more valuable? Homeowners associations are run by a board of directors that's made up of volunteers who own property in the community. The HOA typically handles communal responsibilities, which can vary from managing amenities such as swimming pools to making sure property owners follow home maintenance rules. The board may hire a management company, which tend to be for-profit, to help run the day-to-day operations. Homeowners in the community pay into a fund for the HOA to have an operating budget. In the US, the typical home in an HOA pays between $200 and $300 per month in fees. HOAs have the authority to hand out fines to residents in the community that the association feels is not following the rules. Those fines may also accrue interest in some cases. The Innistros's annual dues for their HOA in Newnan, Georgia is $200 per year, which is lower than the national average. So on paper, their HOA membership doesn't seem like that much of a financial burden, but that's not been their reality.
When we moved in 2008, we found out that there was a balance that was attached to the home because it had been sitting in the community, and they were fining us for that balance and late fees and any other type of fines that they would put onto the home for lawn care or anything. All of that was attached to this home when we moved in.
From 2008 to 2014, we tried to get in contact with the HOA and we never had a reply from them. And we just kept trying and no answer.
By August 2015, the HOA put a lien on the Innistrosas' home. In the court documents, the HOA said the Innistrosas owed more than $1,600. A lien is when a party has a legal claim to an asset, such as a home, which can serve as collateral to satisfy unpaid debt. This can open the door to the HOA escalating to the next level of debt collection, such as foreclosing on the home or, in the Innistrosas' case, garnishing wages.
In mid-2015, they started garnishing my wages. The first time I learned of that was when I got my first paycheck that they garnished. I didn't get any prior notice. I got a notice 2 weeks after.
Even though the HOA was collecting from Jules' paycheck, invoices filed with the court showed they were adding fines rather than deducting from the overall balance. By December 2016, the HOA said the Innistrosas owed more than $4,300.
In 2016, I decided to go into debtor's court. My attorney and the HOA's attorney came to an agreement that I would pay $3,200. We paid in installments, and we finally paid that off in January of this year.
But it seemed like never got to the management or homeowner situation. Just adding fines and adding interest. That's all they were doing.
So they were still saying that I owed almost $8,000, while my attorney and their attorney agreed on $3,000 something.
The Innistrosas estimate that they've paid about $12,000 in fines and garnished wages to the HOA, along with thousands of dollars in legal fees to their own attorneys. The latest invoice they received on August 18th, 2023 says they still hold a balance.
Even after paying $12,000, they're still saying that we owe them $8,000.
After the past, 23 after the past 10 years. 10 years, yeah.
CNBC reached out to Homeowners Management LLC.